Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in a very blustery, very windy Scotland. Yes, we are under an amber warning for storm force winds, and already gusts are getting up to around about 60 miles an hour as I speak. I apologize again, for no show on Sunday. Unfortunately, I had a flare-up of cellulitis, which I have had before. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that kind of goes part and parcel with the blood disorder that I have. So occasionally it is going to be flaring up, and when it does, it is excruciatingly painful. And the medication that I have for it has this tendency to basically knock me out, which is exactly what happened on Sunday. I got home from the hospital. I had been in the hospital on Sunday, and I got home, and that was me done. I basically could not get out of... I couldn't stand, basically, let alone make it from my bedroom into here, the studio, to do the show. So, fortunately, today I am a wee bit better. Standing is definitely still an issue. Walking is definitely still an issue. But I was able basically to hobble in here through the use of this guy. Yes, I have a walking stick. If I can get the damn thing to stay. There we go. Which unfortunately I'm using for the time being until the swelling goes down and the infection goes. I'm on some extremely strong medication, which is, it's not very entertaining, but hopefully I think I'm through the worst of it. So hopefully I should be back to full strength in the next day or two, I hope. I have to complete the course of medication. Medication still has this habit of knocking me out, so I'm gonna hopefully still do a show on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. I would very much like to do that, but we'll see where we're at that point. But yes, 2026 so far has been a bit of a bitch, to say the least. But we will get through it. We will survive. I am Scottish, and therefore I am invincible. And so nothing really is going to take me out. So you don't have to worry yourselves about that. But yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge so far this year. No, I'm not taking fentanyl. But even if I was taking fentanyl, it would be medically prescribed fentanyl, and not what you get off the street, which can be cut with all kinds of other stuff, including, household cleaning products like Jay's fluid and things like that, which nobody should be ingesting into their system ever. So, on that cheery note, welcome to Songwriting Simplified. And we are here tonight to talk about songwriting, composing, arranging, and music theory and that kind of thing. And this is the only show that I do which kind of has less to do with the software and more to do with practice and procedures and that kind of thing, rather than actually what software you use. But that said, as pretty much everybody probably knows by now, the software I use is Fender Studio Pro 8 and also Fender Notion for the notation side of things. So due to your requests, some people did ask for some videos on Fender Notion, so I have started recording those. I still have a bunch of videos from the Studio Pro 8 series, which I am working through editing all of those and getting them rendered and ready to upload to the channel. They will be coming very soon. I know I keep saying that, but then I keep getting sick, or I have some other calamitous issue that means that I don't get to them. But rest assured, they will get done. and you will see more videos on specific things in Studio Pro 8. Like, for example, the finer details of the chord assistant, which I've shown a couple of times on this show, and the chord presets as well, which I think are fabulous. They are fantastic, and you should definitely make very, very good use of them. So I have some videos on those. I also have videos on making best use of the drum metronome and a few other things like that. And yes, that is my phone farting at me because it makes a fart sound every time there is a notification, and I should have put it on silent before we started the show. But I didn't. Sorry about that. All right, so first in the door was Dwayne. Now, Dwayne is never in the door first, so that is a first for you. So congratulations, Dwayne, for being first. Followed about an hour later by Billy Morgan, who is normally first. Brett Marla popped in to say hello because he has a rehearsal. Thank you for dropping by, Brett. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Tony Stringer is here. Steve, the SRW Experience guy, is here. And Keith, the Premeditated Plan guy, is here. Don Oliver is here. Tony TNT is also here. Dave, aka Bops NY, is here. And Mr. Beats is here saying, get well soon. Thank you very much. All right, so if you guys have any questions to do with songwriting, and that could be to do with melody, chord changes, lyrics, that kind of thing. If you have any questions about arranging, and that could be to do with writing for strings, horns, backing vocals, rhythm section arrangements, those kind of things, get your questions in the chat. And if you want to ask a question, the best way to do that is to type at Jonny Lipsham Studios to start with, all one word, Jonny. Basically, just see the web address at the bottom there, Jonny Lipsham Studios. Yeah, that's the YouTube channel name as well. Put the @ sign before that, and it will make my name go red for me. You guys don't get to see that, but I do, and that helps me separate your questions from the general chat amongst yourselves. Mixmaster is here as well, which is awesome. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. So yes, if you have questions about that, if you also have questions about music theory, broadly speaking in general, we can discuss that as well. Such things we have talked about on this show over the last year or so. We've talked about harmony. We've talked about melody writing. We've talked about best practices for melody writing. I did a short little series where we used Notion Mobile, as it was then called. It's now called Fender Notion. We used that to take a little bit of a deep dive into best practices for melody writing, basically how you can take a phrase and use repetition of that phrase and also shifting that phrase diatonically to create variations for your melody so that basically your melody fundamentally writes itself. And how you can basically make a very, very cool, very sophisticated piece of music basically out of one little 5-note phrase. So we did some of that. So if you would like to revisit some of those subjects, we can revisit those. If you have missed out on those, I'd be happy to cover that ground again. We also looked at transposing. We've looked at changing key. Basically, moving from one key to another, be that a major key to a minor key, or a minor key to a major key, or a major key to another major key. We've discussed that as well. So again, if you've got questions on those, you want to go over that ground as well, we can go over that as well. So please do get those questions in the chat, because if we don't have any questions, tonight's going to be a very short show. Given that my leg is very sore, that would be kind of okay, but I would much prefer to do a full show tonight, because that's why I'm here. I've actually got out of my bed so that I could do the show. Because I care about you guys, and I want to serve you, and I want to provide you with the kind of content that you want. So we've only got 9 people here, which is a bit of a disappointment. Normally we'd have like 10, 12, 13, maybe 15 by now, but we only have 9. So that's a little concerning. I am aware that the clocks have gone forward in the United States, which is why we're doing the show now. Because I have always stated that this show and Sunday Night Live is the same. It always starts at 6 p.m. Central Time, whether that's summertime or standard time. It's always 6 p.m. I don't move it in the respect of the USA. Whereas for me, it does get moved. Twice a year, it goes back to 11 p.m. UK time. And this is one of those points in the year where it gets moved. So Sunday's show will also start at 11 p.m. UK time, right? I don't move my show. It is always 6 p.m. So when your clock, regardless of whether it's summertime or standard time in the US, if your clock is pointing to 6 p.m. and it is a Wednesday or it's a Sunday, this show is on unless I put out an announcement saying it's not. Okay? That's how it works. So there are regular people who are not here. So if you want to go grab them and drop them a message and let them know the show is on, please do so. I know that my schedule has been a little bit all over the place just recently, so some people might not know that the show is on. But it is. All right, so whilst we're waiting for some questions, I think it would be a good idea if we talk a little bit more about my favorite subject, the subject that I'm most passionate about in pretty much all aspects of music. And that is harmony. Harmony is a big thing for me. I love harmony, whether that's, 2-part harmony or multi-voice harmony. Harmony is something I'm very passionate about. And harmony is something that will make your music go. Basically, it is the rocket fuel for your engine for your music, is harmony. And also, harmony in itself can help you generate melody. So I can show you a little bit about how you can link harmonic ideas and melodic ideas and develop how you can use one to help inspire the other. So I'm going to start with harmony, and I'm going to show you how you can get a melody from the harmony. Okay, so let's start with a simple set of chord changes that everybody should be familiar with, and that is chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. Pretty much every song that has ever been written has started in that way. So let's give that a go. Let me just move my chair. So if we're in the key of C major, chord 1 is obviously going to be C. Chord 4, if we count up 4 notes, is going to be F major. And then 5 is going to be one step up from there. So I talked about voice leading a little bit the other week. So voice leading is really important to making harmony work for your song. So what is voice leading? Voice leading is where you make the parts of your chord move smoothly between one chord and the next. So, for example, getting between this second inversion C major chord, where we have the 5 of the chord at the bottom, the root in the middle, and the 3rd on the top. I can easily get to F major here by moving this E, which is the 3rd of the chord, up to F, and then I can take this bottom G and move that up 1 note. And now I have an F major, and I've only moved 2 fingers. And the motion between those 2 chords is nice and easy. We also get 2 little melodies going on. We get this going on. Right? It's a 2-part harmony, but it's also 2 melodies. And So with this in mind, we've got this little stepwise motion. What can we do to make this a little bit more interesting? Because that's kind of okay, sounds quite pleasant, but it's a little bit simple. How about we go and we approach from the note above, like that. And already we've got not only a melody, but we've got a harmonized melody. And already we've got something that sounds a little bit more interesting than just this. Which is fine, but now we've got something that sounds a little bit more interesting. So now we've got something that sounds a little bit more sophisticated. So, we can do that with the next chord. So, once we're on this second chord, we can go. And all I'm doing there is taking the same idea from this bit here, but then shifting it up 3 notes and walking it down the scale. And suddenly, what have we got? We've not got just 2 chords going back and forth. We've also got a melody, and a melody that is harmonized either in 2 parts or in 3 parts. Right? And that's taken almost no effort whatsoever. I haven't really had to think anything complicated. I've just thought about this motion between this chord and this chord. And then just extended the idea. Right? So, what about going up to chord 5? Right? So we've got this nice motion going on here. Well, what can we do here? We can go. And all I'm doing here is basically taking that root chord, G major chord, and moving it up 2 notes with a little bit of syncopation, which turns this into a G7 chord, which gives us that tension that takes us back to And all of a sudden, you've got yourself a nice little hook. And you can start your entire song based out of that idea. So what have we done? We've come up with a set of chord changes, 3 chords, chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. And just using the notes that are made up in those chords, we've developed a melody, and we've harmonized that melody in 2 parts and in 3 parts. And the cool thing about this is you can now decide which instruments or which voices are going to sing or play those parts in your piece. Or maybe they're not going to do that at all. Maybe this is going to be backing vocals, and you're going to have 3 vocalists that are singing this, and maybe the top part is going to be kind of like the more kind of melody aspect with the 2 lower parts underneath it, providing the harmonic support to undergird that melody. And so very quickly, very easily, I've developed a single idea from this to this. And it all makes sense. And it's repetition, but it's not just repeating the same thing over and over again. It's repeating the idea, developing the idea, repeating the development of that idea, and then providing a nice little conclusion with what we do on chord 5 there. So I hope that gives you some ideas of what you can do with some very, very simple 3-note voicings using 3 chords, which pretty much every song that has ever been written in the history of popular music starts with 3 chords. Pretty much all blues music starts with 3 chords. Most pop songs start with 3 chords. Now, they may add other chords as they go, but for the most part, they tend to start with 3 chords. So give that a try. Maybe not in the key of C major. Maybe try a different key and see what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Maybe try different voicings. Now, I started with a second inversion C major chord. What about if we do this on root position C major? Kind of sounds different, but it's the same notes, right? Yeah. No. So I've got basically the same idea, still using the same chords, chord 1 to chord 4. And then, when we get to I've done exactly the same thing as before. It's just I've revoiced all the chords, but it's the same idea. So it will work whether you're doing root position or any other inversion by using the same idea, the same concept, the same motion as we did before. And it works. And it's really simple. And more to the point, not only is it really simple, it's really effective and it sounds great. Put some nice lyrics with that, and you've got yourselves the beginning of a song with pretty much almost zero effort. And you've not had to sit there thinking and thinking and thinking and trying to come up with something that's cool. That didn't take me hardly any time to do. I didn't really have to think about it that very much. I just set myself one simple little limitation, which was chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. That's all I'm going to do. Chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. And I'm going to come up with some chords, and I'm going to derive a melody from those chords, which I did. And I even came up with another way to voice that same thing using the same stepwise motion, but in root position, and got the same kind of effect, but it sounded a little bit different, sounded brighter. So maybe I used that as a variation from, kind of like the first thing that I did. So I hope that that is useful and helpful to you guys. So if you do have other questions, Tony has a question. So if you do have any other questions, either about what I've just shown you here very quickly, or on any other songwriting, arranging, composing, music theory kind of question, get them in the chat just now as well. Tony says, what's more important, the hook, the chorus, or the verse? Now, this is interesting because you've basically used 3 different technical terms, 2 of which are completely interchangeable. Hook, chorus, those are entirely interchangeable. Some people refer to the chorus as the hook. Some people refer to the hook as the chorus. Some people, they are interchangeable. Some people don't use the term hook at all. I don't. However, the reason why I don't use the term the hook is because music should have multiple hooks, not just one. There shouldn't just be one hook that the listener hangs everything on. There should be multiple hooks throughout the piece of music so that you not only keep the listener engaged, but you keep your music in their immediate memory. And once it has been in their immediate memory for some time, it will eventually go into their deep memory, which means weeks, months, maybe even years from now, they will still recall your melody. So there should be more than one hook, not just one. You could regard what I've just written here, you could regard this as a hook, and you could regard the root position version of that as a secondary hook or a variation of that hook. It could be that that hook is used as a chorus for the song. So maybe the verse is a little bit more complicated. Maybe there are more chord changes. Maybe the verse is a little bit longer, a little bit more drawn out. And then the chorus itself is actually quite short, that just maybe gets repeated. So maybe it's like a 4 or 8 bar chorus that just gets repeated. And then, or maybe it's just, in this case, this is just essentially a 4 bar chorus that you just repeat twice. And then it could also be used to form the basis of a musical interlude between chorus and the next verse. So, to my mind, all the sections of a song are important. They are equally as important to each other. However, they do serve very different functions. So, the chorus or the hook, or the one of many hooks, I would regard those as your musical punchline. They are the headline. They are the meat and potatoes of your song. The chorus sums up what the song is about and gets the listener engaged with the key concepts of the song. What is the song about? Okay? Not every song has a chorus. Sometimes what it has is just a hook line at the end of each verse. There's many songs that have that, but some songs do have a chorus. For example, Steely Dan's song Peg is essentially a 12-bar blues, but it has a chorus. All by itself, which is where you get Peg, it will come back to you. Peg, it will come back to you. Then the shutter falls. You see it all in 3D. It's your favorite foreign movie. And the cool thing about that particular chorus is not only the harmonic sophistication of that chorus is based around a 3-6-2-5-1 turnaround, but the lyrics themselves sound like an advertising slogan, which is just a brilliant way of lyric writing that both Donald Fagen and Walter Becker honed to perfection. And it hooks you in to what the song is all about. It's about this guy who has this infatuation with this particular young lady, who is either she is a film star or she is about to become a big, successful film star. And this person is infatuated with this particular film star. There's all sorts of examples of that. Another fine example of a song that doesn't have a chorus would be let me see. Again, it's another Steely Dan song called Home at Last, which doesn't necessarily have a specific chorus. It's basically a series of verses, but it does have this nice little hook line. If I can play it correctly, hang on just a second. Hang on. Right? That's the little hook line that goes in between each verse before you get into the next verse. Then it goes into the main groove. Right? So you got this little piano vamp, and then you got the little horn motif that goes with that. And then you get into the verse again. Again, the verse for that particular song is very, very simple. What is that song about? What is Home at Last all about? It's based on Homer's The Iliad. If you've ever read Homer's The Iliad, it is a great little odyssey. And if you have no idea what it is, go look it up. Go find it. Go find a copy of it and read it. And then once you've read the story, check out that song and see how they basically retell the story and give it a modern kind of contemporary twist, if you like. So it's well worth checking that out. As another example of a song that doesn't have a chorus necessarily, but it does have a hook, an instrumental hook. Ken says, sorry to hear you're still not feeling well. Glad to be here. Well, I'm glad to have you here. It's been a bit of a rough ride. I had flu. I had, and you know, the flu actually is this new strain of flu that's been going around that it really did knock me for six. I tell you that. It really knocked me out. And then I've had more bereavement in the family just to go with the bereavement I already have. And then on top of that, I had a flare up of cellulitis, probably as a direct reaction to kind of all the stuff that has been going on. But yes, I'm otherwise actually feeling fine, other than my leg, like it is currently, is screaming at me. But I think I'm doing okay. Other than that, Love Audio Production says, glad I've managed to join you again, managing a rural Devon pub, so don't always get a chance to jump on. Awesome. Well, I'm very glad to have you here. Devon is a very beautiful county in England, down in the southwest of England, for those of you that don't know where that is. And it's right next door to the county of Cornwall, where I spent a few years of my childhood, actually. I went to school down there in Cornwall, and I even played cricket for Cornwall for a few years. And I also played in the Cornwall Jazz Orchestra as well for a while. I actually got my music career probably got its kickstart down in Cornwall as a kid, as a child. It was a great county to grow up, and it gave me a great start and then I could, fully blast off into London and go and launch my career as a full professional in London, which is what I did in 1994. And I've been, professional ever since, really, all these 30, I think, 2 years later. But yeah, Devon's lovely. I love Devon. Just Bobby's on the way home, which is awesome. Ken says, how do you approach the bridge? Build tension or resolution? See, the bridge is interesting because if I go back to that Home at Last song, there is a bridge in that song, but the bridge is actually a launch into, it's basically a send-off, to use a jazz term, into a Lyricon solo, which is played by Tom Scott. I think it's Tom Scott that plays the solo on that. It might actually be Donald himself, because he did play Lyricon. But I'm fairly confident, actually, that it is that it's Tom Scott that plays the Lyricon on that particular song. But yeah, it's a send-off for Tom to then go and play on the interlude vamp and then into the chord changes of the verse. And that's what the bridge is for in that song. But there are other songs, Lennon and McCartney were actually famous for using their bridge as kind of like a pause in the story. So they've told the story, and then the bridge is like a pause in the story, kind of like a commercial break, but not really. But it is kind of like that. They kind of use it like that as a kind of like a little diversion away from the story, and then it links you right back in. So for me personally, what I tend to do with a bridge, if I write one, not all of my songs have a bridge, but if I do write a bridge, what I tend to do is I tend to go through 2, maybe 3 different key changes using a series of 2-5-1s. And then I will basically take the listener sometimes some distance away from the key center of the song. And so you may end up in some very distantly related, maybe even unrelated key. And then I will use a series of 2-5-1s to get you back. And then we'll go off into an instrumental or a solo section. And then we'll do the final chorus. And then the outro, which may feature the soloist featured in the solo section of the song, or maybe it would feature somebody else. I've done that before, where I've had 2 different guitar soloists. One that is the feature, and then one that does the outro at the end. But yes, I tend to go through different key changes. So if my song is in the key of G, which I like to write in G sometimes, if I'm writing a 12-bar blues, I tend to write in G. I just like blues in G. Why? Because it gives me access to the Mixolydian mode. So I can use that as a variation against the more standard blues scale. So I might do a series of 2-5-1s. So let's say we've got to the end of the blues verse. I then might do a series of 2-5-1s. And there, you see, I've brought you back home again. So my bridge will kind of take you off in a little different direction. And what I will do is I will take a little melody figure, which I will then transpose around as I need for to make it fit those chord changes. So maybe it will be a little stepwise pattern, like and then I'll just take that and then I'll bring it back home again. Right? So I take the same phrase and I'll shift it around, repeating it maybe 2 or 3 times, and then we will come back via a 2-5-1 back to the key center for the song, which in this example is a G major, and bingo. You're then gonna send off for the guitar solo or trumpet solo or saxophone solo, whatever it's gonna be, and then we'll do the last chorus. I've done songs like that, like Chanel from my my 2016 EP Belonging to Tomorrow has that idea to it. Flying High from the same EP is very, very different. That song, the bridge, so to speak, is actually a tenor saxophone solo. And then we come back in for the last verse. I don't go into a chorus, which is what you might be expecting. I go into basically, I bring basically the mood and the dynamic range down, and I set up for the final verse of the song. And then there's an outro section, which the tenor sax player plays over the top of. And by the way, on that song, the tenor sax is played by my late dad. That record actually turned out to be the last thing he played on, sadly. So that's kind of what I do with bridges. And it, again, like I say, it kind of depends upon what the song is for, what the song is about, what it's going to do. So my bridge will serve different functions depending upon the song. Mixmaster says, current flu bug really seems to be lingering, hanging on much longer than usual. A vaccine didn't seem to help much. Yeah, unfortunately, from what I have heard, because I have friends in the medical profession, what I heard is this particular new strain of the flu virus, it's a new mutation that nobody expected. So basically the current vaccines were not prepared for the new mutation. So they don't really have a whole lot of effect. What the new vaccine does do, even if it's not prepared for this particular mutation, what it does do is it means that you have less of a hard time if you're not vaccinated. If you haven't had the flu vaccine at all, you'll have less of a hard time. I have never had the flu vaccine because here in the UK, it's basically anybody over the age of 55 who is in the bracket for getting the flu vaccine every year. Or if you're in the healthcare profession, like my wife is. She is a midwife, and she gets the flu vaccine every year without fail. So I haven't had it, and in this particular instance, it hit me like a freight train. But I didn't get hospitalized. I know people who have been hospitalized by this particular flu virus because it is very, very aggressive. But like you say, it did hang around for a bit longer. It took me a good while to shift it. It took me a few weeks to shift it. Tony says, the basic parts of a song include the intro, which sets the mood, the verse, which develops the story, the pre-chorus, which builds tension, the chorus, which is the main catchy message, the bridge, new musical perspective, and outro. By and largely, that is correct. And the function that those sections of the song serve is also by and largely correct. Those are definitely accepted conventions on how those would be used. I don't always, in fact, I rarely have a pre-chorus. Flying High is an exception where there is a pre-chorus, which does build into the chorus. Because it has the line, this is where I want to be, this is what I dream, and then the chorus is all about, I want to be a sax star, a jazz star, which is what the whole song is all about, by the way. It's about this guy who aspires not just to be a jazz saxophone player, but he aspires to be a very specific jazz saxophone player, and that is one that only ever existed in the past, in the bebop era. Basically, he has this rosy romantic ideal of what a jazz musician is like, and that is Charlie Parker, 1940s, 52nd Street, New York, playing clubs like the Three Deuces and the Famous Door and places like that, all those jazz clubs that existed on 52nd Street back in the 40s. And that's what he wants to be. He wants to be up there playing saxophone with Dizzy Gillespie standing next to him, admiring his improvisations. That's what he thinks. That's what he thinks being a saxophone player, being a jazz musician is all about. And the song is about kind of like that rosy romanticism with the tension of reality, which is, it's not like that at all. Billy Morgan says, oh no, here we go. Oh, okay. Thanks, Billy. Just Bob says, I like to write songs without a chorus. I travel the journey through where a chorus should be and pull the listener back into the story. That's an interesting idea. So you're basically using the absence of a chorus as like a juxtaposition, a tension in and of itself. That's an interesting concept. Some of my songs, you're right, they are just verses. They don't have choruses. Like the title track, Belonging to Tomorrow, from my last EP. That is a song that doesn't have a chorus. It has like one repeated line at the end of every verse, but it's not really technically a chorus. I don't think it is anyway. Some people might think it is, but for me, it's not. It's like only 4 bars long, and it's just one line repeated twice. So I don't really think that's a chorus. But it is kind of like the major hook line for the song. So, it could be, I suppose. What is negative harmony? That is a very complicated question. Okay, Billy, whatever. What is negative harmony? Negative harmony is, well, it's an incredibly complex harmonic concept that I can't really explain in 10 minutes. And I certainly can't explain it in a way that's going to be understood easily by everybody in 10 minutes. That said, I think it's on the Nord YouTube channel. There is a really, really good video that is done with Herbie Hancock and Jacob Collier, where they talk about harmony. And they actually do a section on negative harmony and what negative harmony is all about in that video. And it's not a very long video, but the whole concept itself is very, very complex. And, we could take 2 or 3 entire shows to go over what negative harmony actually is, because in order to understand negative harmony, you've got to understand kind of how, most harmony works. Once you've got that understanding, and then if you start to understand things like different, how can I put this? Different tonal systems, other than major and minor. So there are different tonal systems other than major and minor. Most popular music is written using the major minor tonal system because it's what popular music has inherited from Western classical music. And so that's kind of largely the system we work in. When I'm talking about 2-5-1s and turnarounds and things like that, I'm by and largely talking about harmonic concepts that are built in the major minor tonal system. Negative harmony invokes other tonal systems where there isn't such a thing as equal temperament, because equal temperament is just one temperament, one way of dividing an octave, one way of dividing, having a differentiation between one pitch and the next pitch, which is what we have. We have a system that came into being at the end of the Baroque period, which is called 12 tone, 12 tone equal temperament. And it's called that because there are 12 semitones in the octave. The octave is divided into 12 equal intervals. So regardless of whether I'm down at this end of the keyboard or I'm up at the other end of the keyboard, the distance between one semitone and the next is exactly equal. So it's equal temperament, and it is 12 tone equal temperament. So the octave is divided into 12. There are other intonations and other temperaments where that's not the case. Negative harmony is a music theory concept popularized by Ernest Levy and Jacob Collier that creates a mirror image of a chord progression or melody by inverting notes across the central axis. That's primarily how it works, yes, but it is also based around other tonal systems as well. Certainly that's the way Jacob Collier has kind of developed the whole idea. He's basically expanded the whole idea into things like just intonation and 24 tone equal temperament and things like that. Different tonal systems that predate equal temperament, for example. But yeah, that's fundamentally what the concept of negative harmony is. It's a mirror image of chord changes or a melody by inverting the notes. So if you were to take one particular pitch of a particular melody where you have the melody that is above this line and also below this line, and then you invert that. So any notes that are going down go up, and any notes that are going up go down. And the same with chord changes, and the same with chord voicings, where if you have stepwise motion that goes upwards, you reverse that so that it goes downwards instead. You end up with different harmonies, different chords, based out of the same material fundamentally. But yes, one of the things that Jacob has done is taken that idea and then run with it with different tonal systems as well. Just Bob says, thank you. Negative harmony really confused me, but I find it fascinating. It is confusing if it's something that you've never encountered before. To be fair, until I heard Jacob Collier talking about it, I didn't really know what it was. I had heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was. And it's still something that I am not 100% confident with. And I'm not 100% confident with actually applying myself yet. It's something I'm still working out and practicing and trying to develop chord changes out of it. So I'm not 100% well practiced and well versed in it yet, which is why you don't really hear me teaching on it a lot. And even at university, I never taught on negative harmony at university because it's not something that I am 100% secure in myself, because I'm still learning about it. So when I learn to a certain degree and a certain amount of confidence about something, then I will start to talk about it and I'll start to share basics of how something works. But in the case of negative harmony, I don't really know enough about it yet to whereby I could, really do it justice. I would have to do a lot more research, and then I would then unpack it a lot more in more maybe long form videos. Tony says it transforms major chords into minor and vice versa, often resulting in darker, more melancholic or jazzier sound. It can certainly result in that as well. Yeah, for sure. So if for example, you were to take, chord 16251 in C major. So where chord 1 is major, chord 2 is chord 6 is minor, chord 2 is minor, chord 5 is dominant. You could invert and change C major into C minor, and chord 6 into major, and then chord 2 into major, and then chord 5 into minor. So kind of doesn't entirely work in this particular context, but certainly that's one way in which you can reverse, you know, the tonal aspect of a particular chord or a particular series of chords, to invoke something that sounds a little bit more interesting. So one way in which that might work a little bit better is, let's say we do some tritonal substitution here. So we go chord 1, but instead of chord 6, we go chord flat 3, which would be E flat. And then we go chord 2, and then we go chord flat 2 to take us back to chord 1. So let's say we turn chord flat 3 into E flat minor. So So yeah, it can certainly turn, therefore, into something that sounds a little bit more jazzy in that respect, where chord flat 3 is minor instead of dominant. And then, of course, using that as a framework and a basis for improvisation could be quite cool as well. As we DJs say, it's in the mix. Yes, certainly can be. All right. We have 2 minutes left of the show. But yeah, I want to do a little bit more study into the kind of like the weeds, so to speak, of negative harmony, and then that'll be something that I will definitely talk about a little bit more on the show. But that said, this show is called Songwriting Simplified, where we take complex ideas and we simplify them. So that will be my intention, is I will take something that is pretty complicated with negative harmony, and we will simplify it and make it applicable to pretty much any level of songwriting or chords or whatever that you may be at. Just Bob says, have a great night, everyone. Gonna finish my drive home. Great show. Glad a roadside pull-off was available. That has a very different meaning here in the UK. Just thought you might want to know, Bob. But yes, I'm glad you're able to find a little roadside stopping point there. But we are at the end of the show. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Thank you for joining me tonight. We peaked at 16, which is not bad considering I did not advertise the show at all. But thank you very much, everybody. Anyway, I appreciate all your time and your likes and subscriptions, because I think we got one new person here tonight, which is great. We are fast approaching 6,200 subscribers. And the fun part is I haven't even had a chance to celebrate 6,000 subscribers yet, because we screamed right past 6,000 subscribers with the Studio Pro 8 launch, which is amazing. I think I added something like 225 new subscribers just on that one thing alone. S1 meetup in 1 hour. Officially, there are no Studio One meetups at the moment. Officially. However, there is still much discussion about bringing those back. I'm very, very confident that they will come back. I can't say for absolute definite certain yet, but I am talking with all relevant departments in Fender. I've even been in meetings today, so I'm very confident that we will be bringing those back. And those of you that are into mix critiques as well, if you're a subscriber to Studio Pro Plus and you have missed the mix critiques, they are definitely coming back. I believe Gregor and Joe are working out when they will fit into their new schedule. So I suspect it's not going to be on the same day and same time as it has been previously. It's probably going to be on a different day, and probably at a different time. But I have heard pretty much from Gregor himself that they will be coming back. So definitely sure that the mix critiques will be coming back. Very, very confident that the Studio One meetups, or Studio Pro meetups, as I suspect that they will now be called, will be coming back too. So on that note, folks, we will wrap up the show, and I will see you, hopefully. I'm pretty sure my infection will be cleared by then, because it's actually clearing up quite nicely at the moment. So I'm fairly confident that, given all of this lot I've got to take, I'm very confident that I will have my infection, my cellulitis infection cleared. I'm just not going to be around so much between now and Sunday, because I need to devote all of my strength and all of my energy to kicking this infection's arse. So until then, folks, I bid you all a very good night. Good night.